Well, we're about ready to get live here. Just a little bit. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right. So we're going to get set for our Freako Talks the News show here. In a little bit here. Yeah, things lined up. Let's get up to a little tab here. Make our transfer here. You can see by that big old skull and bones. I can see there. See a skull and bones. Yeah, we talking that. That's our image for the show. Whew. All right, I am just about gesticulated and matriculated, and now I am somehow not lined up right. You know what's infuriating about this is I did this test Well, I did this check before the show. I spent about a half hour going through this and setting all of this, and then to see this before me today. But ladies and gentlemen, yet I still soldier on, and we're going to get ready to do the show here as I line this up. I'm not sure that we are meticulated in the right sense, but guess what, everybody? Everybody gets to. We're gonna be rolling through some stuff here. So let's see what we got here. See if we got the problem. Oh, all right, that one's lined up. We got. All right, yeah, we don't need that warning yet. No, that's not for you yet. That's not for you yet. All right, that's good. All right, all right. I think we're all right. I think we're gonna be all right. I think I got it. I'm not sure what happened there, but I gotta tell you, I use this OBS and I love it in so many ways. But if anybody out there can relate to this, comment down below if you have not with regularity had your stuff your settings changed without your consent, let's just say. And I think that that's a little bit of what's going on here. And let's just say that yeah, I'm not in favor of it, you know. And also, I don't think I'm tilted enough. I'm not liking this. This is too hunchy. This isn't right. This has to be fixed. I'm sorry, folks. I am a perfectionist. And, well, not really, but I am a selective. How about that? I am a selective perfectionist. Okay? And so this is the time that I have chosen to perfectionate. It's at this time that I'm actually tilting this in the opposite way that it was for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on with this thing. I gotta say, I'm like, listen, dude, stop doing this to me. Stop denying me my rights. As a, maybe, you know, what I think I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to end up, well, there you go. You know what? That'll do just fine. Let's see. Yeah, all right. We'll deal with this as we come to it. How about we do that? We deal with these as we get to them. Man, I'm gonna have to get a tripod that I can attach this camera to in a fixed space, so I can have a more predictable outcome when it comes to my video. Because really, this isn't gonna work. I don't want to spend that much time, and then when you go to do the show, it's once again, it's suddenly the game has changed. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm not sure, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not sure, but I soldier on. So, real quick, let's go through the sites that we're drawing from. All these sites are mine. I am Frico, and I am not sure if I am. There we go. There we go. That's the right size. There you go. So this is Freako.com, where I am not freaking out about the news for you, the people, because that's how I roll. I'm a decent human being. I risk life and limb every day, metaphorically, in the quest for truth, which doesn't exist. This is Newsalite, the glitz, the odd, the under the radar, the hard to believe news at a glance. I take my 10 news items that I think are of most interest, and then I go to Obamacare.tv. This is free market social engineering for the masses. Take 10 stories from there, and then finally, and these three sites are, including this one, Pioneering News. This is Tech Science Underground News Links, and I take 12 stories from there. I aggregate these sites. I draw in news stories from for a number. It's classified, but I track certain types of things that I'm interested in. This show basically is, if I was going to do a show exactly as I liked it and I didn't care about anything, just about making the show that I want to make. And these sites are the same, the reflection of that. These are the three sites that I want to have. These are the sites and the topics, these are the blends of stories that I want to put all together, so that every day I could sing a song through news, in a manner of speaking, And I can also track what's going on with Coronavilles. So I think this thing started in the midst of Coronaville, and God willing, and I have no reason to believe it won't, this thing will continue after Coronavilles. But I will have this period of time, if nothing else, if just for me, I will have this video documentation. I'm keeping it, hard driving it, backing it up, doing other things, so that I have this data, these collection of thoughts that I experienced during Coronaville, and also the stories that I'm covering. They're all about Coronavilles. I can't avoid it. I do make an effort to try to find as many Coronaville stories as I can, but almost everything is now connected to it, so it's difficult. So it's an interesting historical documentation as well, and that's what this mission is all about. And now we are ready to actually begin the real part of the show. Just hold on one moment here as we prepare everyone who needs to be prepared in the manner that we do it around here.
Warning, the material you're about to use is formed in the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, ungospel, or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone who may offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able. And now, Frico attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That's the plan. I think I'm going to do it today, although today is, I guess I'm going to describe it as like a hay fevery day. It's kind of a rough day today as far as my eyes are concerned, and it's a bad acid it's a difficult day, but I have to say I do not have high levels of physical pain throughout my body, and on the main, I have not had that. And I think that might be due to all of this vitamin stuff that I've been taking. And ironically, I'm eating a lot healthier during Coronaville. We're managing to find ways to get some fresh foods. And so I'm eating a lot of fresh vegetables and fruits and stuff. So I think a combination of that is keeping somehow helping with my pain tremendously. But days like this, man, I don't care. Got that, don't even care. I'm still gonna do it. I know on days like, yeah, it's gonna be a rough day, but we're gonna do this. It's gonna be an awesome show. Sometimes I do my best shows. Well, not specifically this one, but I've done many different shows through the years and many different personas and personalities as well. Frico is just one of my personas, personalities. But right now, it's the only one that matters. So I am Frico. That's all I am right now. So on that note, let's get ready for the first segment. And that means that I'm about ready. Well, you know what? Before we get into the first segment, let's introduce you to the show here, ladies and gentlemen. How about we do that? Do Coronaville IPS... Excuse me. I don't know why I read it like that. That's stupid. I should have made that S smaller. Dang it. I mean, you know what? Never mind. I was thinking, never mind. Do Coronaville IPs dream of electric sheep? I mean, that's the title of this episode, dude, and you boned it. You should just go home. You are home? And let me ask you, are you in a basement right now? Yes. Does your mom own the basement? No. Do you own the basement? Never mind. I don't want to talk anymore about it. My mom said I can't say things that aren't true or are true. I can't remember. Anyway, I'm also an incel or something. I think I've never been married or had kids or anything. Virgin. Something like that. Well, let's do the show. Do Coronaville IPs dream of electric sheep? Today is April 13th, 2020. Frico talks the news. Oh, this is Monday, by the way. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday, everyone. Coronaville test aisles coming to a Walgreens near you. In Coronaville, organ transplants take a backseat to saving life. U.S. banking expanding through bust into energy businesses. Yeah. Oh wait, is that a bad thing? Wow. In the lava deep there stirs. That's the title of the news poem. Coronaville cure, a new contender in N-Hydroxycytidine. And the final story of the day is going to be patent pirates colonize the mind in the war for AI IP. And that is going to be our dialectical at the end here. Let's get ready for the talk headlines. We're cruising on through to the talk. Look, the show's almost over. We're already to the talk headlines. That's just the first segment. This is like church, isn't it? It's like, come on, which part of the where are we at? Is this like the quarter mark? Is it the anyway? You know you love it. You love it. You're gonna push on and you're gonna follow through with the show. Headlines. All right, these are the talk headlines for Frico Talks the News for April 13th, 2020. Our first story is going to be Coronaville test aisles coming to a Walgreens near you from People. Rapid results Coronaville testing coming to CVS and Walgreens. Here's an excerpt. A new type of Coronaville testing that gives rapid results is coming to CVS and Walgreens. The test from Abbott Laboratories was approved by the FDA on March 27th, but is only available in limited quantities, making it highly sought after as the U.S. continues to struggle to make Coronaville testing widely available. Abbott began shipping 50,000 tests a day on April 1. The Washington Post reported, and a portion will go to the two pharmacy chains' newly expanded drive-through testing sites. In the coming days, the two drugstore franchises will open up a total of 17 new spots. Both brands made the announcement earlier this week. Coming soon to a place near you, probably after Coronaville is already swept through. But no, actually, it would still be convenient. I know I would get the test. I would not be in favor of anyone mandatorying it or creating cards that you walk around and show to everyone that you're the right kind of person. That's creepy. We don't want to ever set the precedent to ever allow for that. It's the whole give me a liberty or death thing. Come on, folks. Come on, folks. Seriously. Don't be signing up. Now, offering the cards and offering businesses can choose to, well, never mind. I have another story on that. I'll just say in general, offering the card in some sort of voluntary capacity for people might be a good thing. And I don't know. There's some ways that you may be able to apply it, especially if you really had it finitely set and it could not be renewed. See, that's the problem. It's like the Patriot Act is essentially an open violation of our Bill of Rights, of due process, Fourth Amendment. It's a fundamental violation of our Bills of Rights. And here, I'm going to check this out here. Let's do this real quick. Yeah, I wanna just let's just go through. There we go. Let's go through this. This is the Bill of Rights. Okay, so first one is freedom of religion, press, whatever, freedom of associations. The second one is, if you really want to break this down into the blood and bone, it is the freedom to be able to have the means of self-defense that are comparable to what government people have. That's essentially what the Second Amendment is. That's my interpretation, and I don't really care if it's an interpretation. That is the standard that a civilized liberal society needs. Without it, we're all subject to tyranny. The Third Amendment. This is no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. I mean, I don't know what to do with this. Don't put soldiers in my house. I'm trying to. This is an amendment that we really should, like, I don't know. You guys, somebody out there probably has some deep metaphorical, but even the deep metaphoricals, even if you can come up with a deep metaphorical for this, it's literally hard to escape the very narrow aspect that this amendment is assigned to. Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches. This is basically, you don't get to shake us down going hunting for crime. You don't get to do that, which is what the state now is allowed to do at all levels, from the local to the federal. So the Patriot Act is a fundamental violation of the Fourth Amendment. I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm going to go through the last one here. Or, well, not the last one. The last one I'm going to go through here was the Fifth Amendment. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless you are. This is the due process. This is what separates us from the animals. This is what doesn't allow governments to just gather people up in the middle of the night, snatch them up, and they disappear and you never see from them again. Nope. That person has assumed Fifth Amendment rights and you violated them all. And you have a people, a vast number of people that dare to think that they have the privilege, this liberty privilege that so many of us Americans assume we have, that many other people in other nation states don't assume they have. That doesn't mean they don't want them. They do want them. They understand them very full well. As a matter of fact, these ideas didn't come from America. America just kind of became the gathering place for a lot of this stuff for a variety of reasons. I don't want to get into that because then I'm trying to not talk forever about every story and limit time and be respectful of humanity. And so we're going to go on to the next story. But that's ultimately, though, that's good news. And I hope that more companies step up and we get a lot more, of these more instant, especially when you can get the kits that you can test from home. And if nothing else, you get the positives to maybe do another follow-up test, but still, I would certainly like to know, because I think so many of us had periods of time just in the recent past where we felt like maybe that was corona, because I went through a period of time where it was pretty rough, but everybody had, not all symptoms of Coronaville are the same. For me, I had a lot of intestinal issues, really bad, but I also had really bad migraines and other issues. It was difficult. It was like, yeah, I don't know. It was like I don't know how to describe it. Just really lightheaded. It was very strange. It was really, really, and I don't know. Was that Coronaville? I'd like to know. I think all of us would like to know and say, be a relief for a lot of people if they knew they already had it. So I'm all for this. So on the main, this is a great story. Just want to point that out. But somehow, as I usually do, because that's what you do on Freako Talks the News, because it's my way of not freaking out, and I do my job. You take some journeys that maybe aren't directly connected to the story. Let's get to the next story. Crying over spilled milk while Coronaville goes without. From VT Digger. Vermont farms dumped 60,000 gallons of milk since beginning of April. Oh, that is difficult. That is a difficult sentence to read, isn't it? Vermont farms dumped 60. Oh, that hurts my head. Because, man, I don't know about you, but milk is an important part of my life. I understand that milk is an important part of my life because I have been constructed to such a manner and I'm willing to accept that. And on the main, the tastiness and the awesomeness of milk is such that I don't care. Give me my milk. And we can serve our milk around here when we can get it. We can serve our milk. So this pains me. This is that whole... Well, this gets to I forget where I saw it, but I got to give this... I wish I remembered who said it. But they were talking about why the media, or oh, I know who it was. It was Eric Weinstein on the Joe Rogan show. Now, I have to credit him because I never said publicly what he said publicly. So if I said, oh, I thought about this, I tried to claim ownership of this. I mean, I don't want to claim ownership of a thought necessarily anyway, but I just don't want to even imply in any way. So I want to make sure that I cite this guy who is the first person I saw say this publicly. And he said it like maybe a day or two after I thought it. And I'll try to do it the way that he described it. He actually described it, I would say, better than what I had in my head. So he also did better there. So he said, why do you think that they're so concerned about trying to limit the number of deaths from this coronavirus? And his answer was what I was saying, which is essentially, it is better for these politicians that people die outside the cameras than inside the cameras. That's how I worded it, not him. But he was essentially bringing it back to the visceral. It was because they don't care about the amount of death that they cause. They only care about the death that you can put on their ledger, that will cause them to lose power, lose face, lose authority. And his answer was these people were so just incompetent across the board. No one escapes, not Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump has done some good things. He has done some good things. And some people have done some good things. But everybody at the highest levels have done some really bad things too, whether it's just incompetence or militancy, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The net result is all of us have experienced an unnecessary diminishment of life. I'm not going to say to you that the shutdown is unnecessary, that some form of shutdown in some strategic path or pattern that was not as complete as the shutdown that we have had. The way that the shutdowns were done as well, the deliberate consideration of all of the moving parts, how all of them are so fundamentally connected, how much you have harmed irreparably so many lives, how much you have enabled the people at the top to vulturize the people at the bottom. We poors were losing the best of our thoughts to patent whores, patent pirates, which is this is why the show is called what it's. This is our theme. This is what we're going to keep coming back to today. So that's what irks me about a story like this, because they don't understand how all the moving parts are connected. And so you end up with, this is what happens with federalized, centralized socialism. That's what we're talking about. Not all socialism follows the Soviet model or even the social democrat model. There are less authoritarian socialists than others. And not that I'm a socialist, and I don't really ascribe to socialism for a number of other reasons, but I do get a lot of ideas from socialists. I get a lot of ideas from capitalists too, but I reject them too. I reject the capitalists and the socialists. But I've seen a lot of different types, and on all sides, I've found people that I could be neighbors with on the main. I wouldn't want to live in their land necessarily, but people I could be good neighbors with. So this story, this is what happens to it's not really whether it's socialism or not. It's whenever you try to centrally plan and manipulate a complex system, you end up with vast resources over here that go to rot, while in other areas, in most areas, everyone is experiencing a significant loss in that very resources that rotting over there because of the mess that you've caused. You've literally just sabotaged it's almost as if the Chinese came in here and blew up our whole system. This is what it would how they would do it. It's almost like this is a Chinese attack. And when I say Chinese, I want to be clear, it's not a Chinese attack. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying metaphorically. It's almost like the Chinese, you can make it the Russians. I don't know who else I don't think only China and Russia would even be remotely capable of invading America. So, not that either one of them would be, but just say, if anyone could, it would be one or the other. So it's either the Chinese or the Russians. When I say Chinese or Russians, I'm only talking about their governments and their militaries. It's not human beings, not individuals, well, they're all human beings in their aggregates, but the human beings in government, I'm not talking, they're the one, I don't have much, they're the Chinese that I'm talking about. The humans in government in Russia, they're the Russians that I'm talking about. Not talking about the unaffiliated Russian people, the unaffiliated Chinese people, or Chinese as an ethnicity, or Russian as an ethnicity. And I think that's a really important, I would not necessarily in normal times belabor those points so much, but I will in these times, because we have a lot of Chinese Americans, and there's going to be a lot of tendency in folks to be really, really racist, because it's so easy to scapegoat whatever race is allegedly Chinese race is represented by China, of course. China itself is a very racist nation, but I don't put Chinese people in that. If you're Chinese, I don't assume that you're Chairman Z hand China supremacy Chinese, because I don't know the percentage of Chinese that actually are that. I'd imagine it would be a minority, but I imagine the number of Chinese that aren't like that but can't say it because they don't want to die is probably a lot higher. So, you meet anyone in China or anyone from China or Chinese Americans, whether they're first generation or fifth generation, that's just an individual that you have to treat as an individual. You can't assume the sins of their quote unquote race. You can't do it. So right now that's going to be a huge, huge temptation for a lot of folks, a lot of Americans right now. So I think whenever I talk about China or the Chinese especially, I always want to make sure that I offer this counter to that, because I do think that, if you have any friends that are Chinese and live in America, if you have any friends that are Asian and live in America, whether they're living here or whether we're talking about Asian Americans in general, if you have any friends, I think you got to be worried right now. Not saying, though, that you don't call out the Chinese government. You do that. You just offer the counter to it. Let's get to this last story, which is, hey, here we go. We're going to talk about China some more. Now, China, they're pulling their own race card. They're actually doing the whole, if you talk about China, if you say that the virus is China, I don't have a problem calling it the China virus so long, but I would say, I would not want our government to call it the China virus right now for obvious reasons. I was not happy with. I understood why Trump did what he did in terms of geopolitical, but I think that in other terms it wasn't worth the geopolitical. But anyway, while the Chinese are pulling that whole race card, here we have this: Africa gets set to SJ the Chinese, as in social justice. From the Shade Room. African officials are confronting Chinese governments for their racist mistreatment of black people due to the coronavirus. And this is the Shade Room. Now, this person that writes for the Shade Room, they always start off and they say roommates And it's such a silly little conceit or whatever you want to call it, but I really like it. And I feel like I don't even know this person, but I feel like, all right, we're friends. So I like the Shade Room, by the way. You'll see a lot of the Shade Room because they do good stuff. They write well. Roommates. As the coronavirus continues to spread and impact various groups of people, one city in China is taking some discriminatory measures to stop the spread. Apparently, people of Guangzhou are convinced that Africans in the city are responsible for the spread, and their racist and xenophobic precautions are leaving many black people without proper living conditions. It's really bad. It's not just, in their case, like we did have, Donald Trump did not help things. And I'm really happy to see, and I think it was a sincere conversion for him. I think he really began to understand that saying the China virus, the reason he said the China virus, the reason he doubled down on the China virus, he was not trying to be racist. But I don't know for sure, but the reason that he doubled down on it was because China said, if you continue to call it the China virus, we're going to not send vital supplies to you that you need to make the medicines that you need to combat the coronavirus, and we will leave you to the devices of the coronavirus. They literally threatened to kill Americans, to let them die. Just if Donald Trump wouldn't quit calling it the China virus. So Donald Trump, being what he is, Mr. Big between his legs, I'll just say, that's his fundamental, his ultimate go-to strategy is bigger, better, and bigger than the other, so to speak, as in the big between the, you know what I mean. Y'all know what I mean. I'm trying to keep the show civil. So Donald Trump, he was just letting Z have it. That's all. He was just coming hard. And I think he did it a couple times. It wasn't a blowback from the press. That wouldn't have bothered him at all. I think he got blowback from people within, like people that he trusted, maybe people that he knew. He probably knows some people that are Asian American, and a couple of them probably said, dude, no, this isn't no fake SJW stuff, okay? This is legit, okay? This is not overhyped. This is a concern we should be thinking about. I think and hope that that's what happened here. But meanwhile, in China, while Donald Trump did that, the Chinese government is literally putting up posters that show black people in really crude ways and white people, and there's it's not just black people that are being targeted, but China has always really never liked black people. That's the bottom line. If you're black and you go to China and you live in China, you may have a coterie of friends. You may have spaces where you can live happily and comfortably and consensually, but when you go out into China, that's a whole other world. They're also a little bit more outspoken, so they will literally be racist to your face. They don't give a crap. They don't have that type of limitation over there. You can say or do a lot of rude things to one another. You've got a lot of freedom in China, a lot more freedom in a lot of ways, but maybe in some of the worst ways. I don't know. Anyway. So it's really bad what's going on with black people that are still stuck in China. It's very bad, and it says a lot about the nature of the Chinese state, not the Chinese people. Even if, I don't know, well, I'll put it to you this way. I know that I myself may very well still be the product of other people's minds. I don't know. I'm hoping that I'm a lot further away from that than I was. And by that I mean, not to a certain degree, we're all the products of other people's minds, because most of our ideas, concepts, everything, it's very difficult for us to avoid. And I don't think we should necessarily avoid the influences, but the influences that we are aware of, that we have some self-direction in deciding what's what, that we're not led to through coercion or through emotion, which is a form of coercion. Unless you're using, well, yeah, if you're using it, never mind, I'll just say generally, yes. So if you are moving towards freeing yourself from what constructs were built into you before you even understood what's what, they tell you this is bad, you make it bad. They tell you America's great, you make America great. You still, even to this day, you still get a little, there's a little part of you that can still get choked up when you see the flag and the grand. Still a part of you feels that, even though, like ultimately, at least from my understanding of the world, that's not ultimately a world that I want to live in, where we need that type of patriotism. Sense of stewardship and love for one shared community, yes. Patriotism, no. But I don't look at people who are patriotic as in a contemptible way. I don't think they're stupid. I don't think they're immoral. I think that, and I could be wrong, but I think they live within constructs that ultimately work against them, and that these constructs, almost all of us, we live in the constructs of people with a lot of power. The select few, I try to use different words for them, billionaires, but really I call them citadelians. That's the label that I've been using on the show. These are the folks that in and of themselves, they're almost like walking citadels. They're untouchables. Not by markets, not by states. They're untouchables. Fundamentally untouchables. You can't hurt their market. You can't hurt their state influence. No state is going to show up and shackle them. They are pretty much citadelians. These are the folks that use their resources to push the world around them towards vehicles of power that continue to favor their perpetual expansion of awesome, or to, whatever state they're at, whether they're just trying to hold on, or they're trying to expand, whatever it is they happen to be doing. Everything they do is about influencing the world to reflect the values, the beliefs that enable them to hold on to their crap. Most of your versions of most of your religions that are touched by the state in any way, shape, or form, that have any kind of synchronicity with the state, I can be guaranteed, almost just about, I'm going to say yes, guaranteed. I'll be guaranteed that that's a corrupted form of whatever your religion was, unless your religion was created by the state in the first place. That's another matter altogether. Then right from the start it's corrupted, because it most assuredly was not created out of anything divine. It was, even if they borrow the terms of whatever the true divine is, and I'll leave that for you to decide. I believe in the divinity of Christ, so that's where I stand. But if you are living your life by the divine instead of I guess the blood and bone reality around you, then you really don't even care about the blood and bone cost of your decisions. And almost all of us that continue to perpetuate the types of systems that fill out the vehicle of power requirements that these citadelians need, we do so because we ultimately want to be that citadelian. Part of us wants to be that citadelian. And if we can't, we'll be through others. We'll be through all the citadelians that we see that we get to live through. That's what we're all perpetuating. Yeah. All right, I'm going to end that headline segment right there. Oh, wait. Oh, I almost forgot to do this. That's right. Got to remember to do this, get it into this pattern, and that is at the very end I say whatever is here. So get Freako's Daily Freaks, just go to it says just enter your email and click subscribe. You can find that if you just go to Freako.com, but the other way is go to Freako.com/daily. And coming up next, this is the 4 p.m. show. So if you're watching this on YouTube, the 5 p.m. show is coming up, and that's the talk feature. And the title of that is In Coronaville, Organ Transplants Take a Backseat to Saving Life. Alrighty, so I got that done. That's a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but is anybody surprised by that? Anybody surprised like that? I'm just going to get right to the talk feature here in lieu of that length of time. So get ready to start. Hold on. Oh, there we go. There's the music. All right, this is the talk feature for Freako Talks the News for on Monday, April 13th, 2020. Oh no, it's Freaky Monday. You know, Monday the 13th, isn't that like a good luck thing? I think it is. It's the opposite of Friday the 13th, Monday the 13th. It's an awesome day. That's what that means. In Coronaville, organ transplants take a backseat to saving life. Organ donors are dying to serve you, in some instances literally, but their gift is turning to rot. Another casualty of the shoot first, ask questions later models of governance we Americans and most of the world find themselves subject to. In this bizarro world reality, governments take authoritarian measures to lock down flow, telling us we're just choosing between taking a break and saving millions and millions of lives. You see that one classic meme that, let me see if I can find it. Let me see if I can find it here. You know what? Let me see if I can find that. It's the economy. Oh no, the economy. Yeah. Yes. This is what we're talking about right here. There it is. There it is. Oh God, the economy. Here's another one. Your generation ruined the economy. Capitalism. Well, I don't know what this means. Okay, this doesn't make sense. Okay. There you go. And then Elon Musk says, but actually, oh God, the economy. Now, it's wonderful that Elon Musk has revealed the fallibility of this man's mind by posting such idiocy. And this is really comes to this. What you people don't understand is the economy is life. You think that the economy, to you, when somebody says the economy, you think the economy is just the trinkets. But the economy is life. It is the essentials that make everything about you possible. It is the essentials that makes your ability to whine from the seventh floor of your New York apartment where you work maybe you live 3 or 4 blocks away from whatever trashy news media outlet there is, whether it's mainstream news media or this so-called alt media or digital media or whatever it is, whatever offices that you go to, and then you go back to your little apartment and you got your indoor gyms and your indoor grocery stores, your self-contained little universe of safe and wonderful and happy and secure with no idea whatsoever as to the whole interconnectivity of the world around you, the blood and bones necessity of that interconnectivity, and how so many people that are an integral part of all of that stuff flowing are people that you regularly compare to dog vomit, that you regularly let know that when you're in power, you intend on rounding them up. And this is, I'm speaking to everyone, this is all kinds of stuff that's happening on all kinds of factions in this universe. So I'm not just speaking to anyone that you might think I'm speaking about. I'm speaking to all of the major factions in America today, certainly, in varying degrees and in ways that, yeah, they have their own particular targets. You know, on one side you have the progressives that are being led by the DNC, which has decided to use authoritarian SJWism as its main vehicle of power. And authoritarian extremist SJWism has regularly basically said that the Bill of Rights is a patriarchal, white supremacist construct. Highly, highly dangerous, that the DNC has adopted an ideology, and SJWism, just so you know, broadly speaking, SJWism, don't associate SJWism with that. You need to, well, I will hope that if I, at least I'll do my part to try to move you in that direction in a non-coercive, non-deceptive way. But that, hopefully you pin that to the SJW extremists, the SJW authoritarianism that I'm talking about, because it's kind of like Christianity has so many perverted versions. Well, I would say authoritarian versions, vehicles of power for billionaires, citadelians. So the citadelians have taken SJWism and bastardized it and turned it into their useful vehicles of power. Unfortunately, a lot of SJWs who think that that's their team still support them, and I think a lot of these folks at some point, hopefully soon, will come to realize hashtag not my SJW. I think that will happen. I think it's already happening for a lot of people that are leaving SJW altogether. And SJW as a concept, well, for various, I like a lot of things about it. I've taken a lot from it, and in some instances, whether I've taken things from it, I've also recognized things in it. In addition to what I've taken, I've seen, so, oh yeah, well, I've always kind of believed that, so that kind of lines up. So there's a lot of things I like from it. There's a lot of things I like from almost every major school of thought that I can imagine. So, yeah. But in this case, that SJW authoritarianism is getting in the way of adults making adult decisions. It cuts off so much decision making. So the SJW on the one side, the SJW authoritarians on the other one side, they're targeting. What are they targeting? Whites? Seriously? Are they targeting males? Or their targets are pretty broad and pretty. It targets. It's weird. It targets all of the major majorities except for males. I think males are minorities actually. But in essence, it does target the major majorities, and certainly males in terms of the physical reality of power. I don't just mean their physical as in their bodies. I mean the guns, the tanks, all that stuff. But the males are totally dominant. So again, targeting the dominant. They're targeting all the dominant powers of that culture conveniently. Why? Because they want to fundamentally redesign it. I just would love to be able to convince the SJWs that the end of that does not give them the world that they imagine. In the end, they're just as likely to be retargeted as they are if the conservatives were to fully win power. If it was, and it was truly a conservative coalition, which I don't think there is a conservative coalition anymore. I think there are still conservatives that can be an important part of a coalition, but I don't think there's a conservative coalition. I think that, well, I think the age of the conservatives is coming to an end, and something new must take its place, a new form of conservatism, a more limited, pragmatic form of conservatism that is devoid of the nationalism. Yeah. So, from the top of the mountains, ants are clean and their networks are sanitized. The ebb and flow of the rise and disappearance of various ant forms means little to the lord and lady from atop the summit, secure in their citadels. Numbers. So numbers have no way of being known in such a complete or complex array. The melange of interdependences of flows, including the unexpected ways one shut down of a flow seemingly unrelated to the flow you wish to perceive. Man, I am sorry. I'm reading this wrong. You know what? I'm just going to skip this and just get to the excerpt. Let me try this again, though. You know what? From the top of the mountains, ants are clean and their networks are sanitized. The ebb and flow of the rise and disappearance of various ant forms means little to the lord and lady from atop the summit, secure in their citadels. numbers. So numbers have no many of being known in such a complex array. I think I meant no manner of being known in such a complex array. The melange of interdependencies of flow, including the unexpected ways one shut down of a flow seemingly unrelated to the flow you wish to preserve, will eventually also shut down the flow you hope to preserve. Now, this part here is the really important part. What you don't understand is how one part of your market over here that you have deemed non-essential, that you shut down, it has this ripple effect that it's connected to other parts that even if you've left them open because they've lost this part, they can't stay open. So they're shutting down too. So parts that you want to keep open aren't able to be kept open because you can't just shut down a significant part of the market and magically expect that the part that you deem essential is going to stay shut down, because in the market, guess what? It's all essential. It's all essential. Every individual and their ability to make a living, it is essential for them at that moment in time. Now you're selling us a bit of goods with this cash that you're sending us, which I don't know how valuable it'll be in the end, but you're doing it with smoke and mirrors. And you know that there's a Pied Piper to pet. And I don't know if you're betting on getting a lot of hefty returns from these loans that you're giving out to folks or not. I don't know if that'll pan out or not for you, but you're shooting the dice on this one. Also, that you can minimize the amount of deaths through the coronavirus on your watch. This is fundamentally what you're all about. You're just protecting yourselves, your classes, and I don't mean classes like rich and poor. And one of the reasons why it's hard to call people billionaires, because there are people that are not billionaires that are citadelians. You don't have to be a billionaire to be citadelian, and not all billionaires are citadelians either. So I think the citadelian is the better term. I know it sounds kind of wackadoodle, but it's the best word I can come up with. If anybody sees a different word, y'all let me know, but I'm probably not going to change it, because I will never change ever again. Change it up. I'm just kidding. I will if I like it. Okay, so I think that's about all that I am going to say about this. I don't even need to read the full story here. All I really need to point out here is, well, you know what? Let me read you here what it says here down here. The last week in March saw only half the numbers of transplants as the first week of the month. Everyone has put their programs on hold pretty much, says Helen Irving, CEO of Live On New York, an organ procurement organization that covers New York City and surrounding counties. Procedures involving donations from living people, such as kidney transplants, have seen the most dramatic decrease. Both donors and patients are reluctant to go into the hospital, where many cases of Coronaville have originated. All transplant patients are immunosuppressed to prevent organ rejection, which is a risk factor for more serious Coronaville symptoms. But kidney transplants aren't the only operations being impacted. Pretty much it's shut down, says Arthur Kaplan, a bioethicist at NYU Langhorne Health of the nation's organ transplant network. A lot of people may die on the waiting list, more than usual. And I think that in the end, these people, hardly any of them had much to fear. That Coronaville is going to turn out to be 70% hype. I mean, it's already, and I mean 70% hype. Yeah, 70% hype in the end. That we could have withstood this. Some people would have died, but we'd have gotten it over. And I know I'm not talking about, we still fill up football stadiums. We don't necessarily need to have the bars open, or if you do have the bars open, they have to have limited numbers of people. I understand keeping it limited, doing the social distancing, all those things, limiting the ability of this thing to spread, but not necessarily worried so much about it spreading. And if you did the social distancing, you wash your hands, and you limited how many people could be in certain closed spaces, you took those precautions, You could have kept so many things open. Well, yes, I agree. Shut sports down for a period of time. I'm okay with that until we figured out some things, and then we could get sports back up with empty stadiums, whatever. Get the sports playing. Yes, absolutely. If we wouldn't force anybody to play sports, but if you're making millions of dollars, dudes, it's time to represent. It's time to serve your countries or your people, whatever. I love this country. I love the people. I love the land. I am no fan of the government or any government for that matter, but America, such as we are, yes. If we can come together under this Bill of Rights banner, this is a place worth preserving, and I'm just saying that this is difficult to not have rages when you have these types of possibilities. I'll just say that. That's a good word to use, a good, nice, neutral word to keep me from the freak out. There's possibilities that our governments are making calculations that they know full well that if this thing might have killed 200,000 people, but they know full well that in the net effect of what the damage has been done during this period of time, that the deaths may be 2 million people over the course of the next 5 years that you could say died, that their deaths, at the very least for deaths, were dramatically hastened by what happened to them during Coronaville because of the decisions of children, sycophantic children led by vicious, self-centered children that no one's ever said no to. This is what we're led by across the board at almost every level of government. I'm sure there are some rare exceptions of governments that are being really responsible in how they're approaching Coronaville, but I doubt it. I doubt there are many. Probably a handful of local governments. No state governments. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe Wyoming. I think they're pretty chill. I think they have to be chill. They don't have the resources to back up anything. It's like, yo, man, that's another problem. You're passing laws that put people at risk. You pass laws that put people more at risk than the things you're trying to prevent. It's this idiocy that you don't want to have people walking outside. Are you insane? You absolutely want people walking out. You want to make people sicker so they're even more susceptible to coronavirus? Because that's what you're doing. Good job. How many people will get coronavirus because their immunity systems were knocked down because of deficiencies caused by coronavirus? How many? I don't know. Good job. 10 years from now, we'll get a comprehensive study, and then we'll figure out that 2 million people died, and it'll end up with 50,000 people died from coronavirus, and 2 million people died. And in the worst case scenario, if you had done just some of the things that I said, just those, that would have limited it to 200,000 deaths. I mean, if you're going to look at it as to preserve as much life as possible, you got to make that hard decision. You have to allow for a certain amount of coronavirus to spread, and you have to allow for a certain amount of life to go on, because if you don't, you're going to end up killing far more people in the long run than Coronaville. Now, there's so many factors in there to determine whether that'll ever play out or not, but this is more and more where I'm at, and I'm more and more in the belief that not only is that the case, but that these ninnies on top know it, and they don't care. They just want to make sure that the numbers on their ledgers are as low as possible. Come what may. Nothing else matters. And many of them, they got to be loving this. Is like, man, this is great. I just say it and it happens. Oh, man. Some of these people, they're just like, they're polishing parts of their bodies right now. Like, oh, man, it looks a lot bigger in the light with the shimmer on it. Yeah, it does. And I mean, it doesn't really matter. Male, female, they're all doing it. They're all like, they're living high off the hog. This is and some of them are like, oh, I could do. You imagine during this time, the Virginia governor signs more draconian anti-human rights bills, anti-human human self-defense bills in Coronaville. This is what they do. They decide, no, we're not going to wait till after Corona. Nope, we're getting it in now. When people can't rise and protest, they did it when people could. It's just the viciousness of that, the rudeness, just the absolute viciousness of a human being to do that to so many other human beings that are unfortunately under this one individual's mercy. This blackface. You know what? Not freaking out. Not freaking out. I'm going to break the record of 4. If I get through this show, I will have 5 days without freaking out. But I'm just going to say that's not good. And that's the whole spirit of this whole thing here. Now, I understand that in this article they're talking about a lot of things that are going on. It's not, though. See, this article is talking. It's not just that you're having people that are not showing up for the thing. I'm talking about the folks that are dying in accidents, and then their organs, and then the hospitals that are they're letting people go because they can't support them anymore right now because there's no business for them. There's no business. So they have to let them go. Even when some of these places have business, they're kind of a service the hospital provides. In the end, the hospital might lose money on that service, but it's subsidized by all these other quote-unquote non-essential services, which you don't understand. And so there's a lot of that going on as well. And a lot of this right here that's going on, this has to do with the level of fear that we're placing in human beings. We're leading human beings to believe that 1 in 100 human beings who get this virus will die. Or 3 in 100 human beings is what they're saying. Who get this virus will die. I do not believe that will be the case. I believe if and when we ever get the actual numbers such as that could ever be had, it's going to turn out to be 1 in 1,000. Now, that's still relatively high. But at that point, it's not high enough to shut all this down. That's not the level of threat that justifies this level of shutdown, this level of draconian responses. This authoritarian grabbing of power that has been going on by all of these states, by all of these local governments. Just draconian, knee-jerk authoritarian measures. All they want to do is shut it down. And now that they've seen, wow, people let us get away with this. Now they're like sharks smelling blood in the water. Now they're like, let's keep this going. Let's get that grab bag out. Nancy Pelosi, let's get our Christmas list that we had for the last 20 years and get all this done now. Let's force all of these fundamental changes on 300 and some million people without going through any consensual manner of defining who and what these people actually are and what they want. Let's take this time when everybody is scared, when everybody feels vulnerable, when everybody is powerless, when everybody's locked up. Let's take this time to reorganize all of their entire lives with new authoritarian bosses. Yay! How do you think people are going to respond to that, Nancy? Donald? All of you. I think you're wrong. I hope, and I think you're wrong in assuming that that's going to go well for you. All right, well, coming up next, this was the 5 p.m. show. Coming up next is if you're watching on YouTube, coming up next is the 6 p.m. show, the Talk Focus. And the first story of the Talk Focus is going to be U.S. banking expanding through bust into energy businesses. And that's a lot of... Gotta clap. Good job. Good job. Way to expand that ledger. Way to expand the empires. That's what it's all about, folks. That's what it's all about. Whew. You can shut up now. Wait. Oh, I got to turn you off. I forgot. I like to have that music turned off because I don't like to start with music. Because, see, like here, I'm moving on to the Talk Focus segment. Hold on one second. This bad that's what it's acid reflux is. Ugh. I actually kind of coughed up some acid too. It's nasty. But when you wake up and the vapors come out of your mouth, did you eat late last night? Yeah, I did. I fell off the late eating wagon. So I did this to myself. I ate too late, and I don't even know if I slept as right as I should. I need to sleep in a more elevated way. I don't think I did. So I'm a miserable acid reflux, hay fever, whatever kind of guy, and I'm pushing on. I'm doing this. So if I'm watching this years later and say, dude, what the heck is wrong with you that day? You look kind of tired. Like, did you get any? Oh no, that's what it was. All right, let's get our talk focus in. All right, this is the talk focus for Frico Talks the News for Monday, April 13th, 2020. U.S. banking expanding through bust into energy businesses. The consolidation of resources, wealth, decision-making power is accelerating in the age of Coronaville. And how? Where the haves have decided to divvy up the corpses from the true pandemic. The decisions of these same wealthy, these same powerful. The ones creating the corpses are the ones profiting from selling their organs. American banking powers are grabbing up all kinds of belly-up assets, including, in a major way, American energy assets. It's looking like your banker will be your oil baron, too. Cool. Isn't that great? Isn't that great when you go, you could buy your gas from the same company that have your bank account in. And what's really cool, if you say anything offensive that the bank might not want you doing business with them for, they can also make sure you can't get your gas anymore. That's cool. They could do that. I mean, why not? It's their gas, their rules, right? Isn't that the logic? The logic of the free marketers. It's free market. You can't restrict the free market in the way that you restrict your government. And I was in this camp for a long time. And now I understand why you can't have that. If you're going to have a Bill of Rights community, why are you going to exempt businesses from living by those standards as well? Why do we allow YouTube to violate our bills of rights? Because, well, it's the free market. It's their stuff, so they can do whatever they want. It doesn't matter. They serve the general public, and yet they seem to selectively serve basically whoever these Citadelian folks say they should serve. They seem to walk lockstep with all of the major institutions. They're all in one accord. They're all working together. YouTube now openly, aggressively, assertively promotes CNN as a credible source over Jimmy Dore. I always want to say Dory. Jimmy Dore. Over Jimmy Dore. Listen, I had a lot of issues with Jimmy Dore. None of them would prevent me from wanting to be friends with him, by the way. I disagree with a lot of stuff that Jimmy Dore says. But Jimmy Dore is a dude of integrity. Like, he doesn't make stuff up on the main. If he does, he made a mistake, but it's not. He just doesn't make stuff up. Doesn't do fake news. I mean, I disagree with his take, but he doesn't make fake news. When he tells me stuff, I believe him. As much as I believe anyone, but I believe him. When CNN says something, I know that CNN is talking out of the DNC playbook. And I've talked to you on other shows what the DNC is, the DNC playbook. The DNC has become, it's not really, it's nothing to do with the Democratic Party. It's just this mechanism that these folks kind of took over. And it's the convenient clearinghouse between all of these aspects of their empires. It's the aspects that has government resources, market resources, cultural resources, media resources, whatever it is. It's a way for all of these major elements of their empires, whether it's an empire or collective empires, whether it's an association of these folks or just whether it is one person. I doubt it's one person. I think it's probably maybe 4 or 5 people, probably fundamentally at the core, that we're talking about. But they are essentially the ones that are using the DNC, them and all of their vassals underneath. And even at the highest, Hillary Clinton is a vassal. She's not one of the 4 or 5. She's just a vassal. But these folks have used the DNC as the clearinghouse between their American and their foreign elements, and using it as a clearinghouse also for them to be able to sell their American power and resources to these foreign entities. The DNC is essentially, my theory, and I'm really think I'm going to be proven to be true, because I believe this a long time ago, but it seemed crazy a long time ago. So even I was hardly sure of it. I thought, well, it's just, I'm more and more sure of it as the years have gone on. But now it is essentially, it is an auction house, if you will, for American power. That's essentially what it is, and they are great beneficiaries of all this right now. There is so much that is happening that is allowing businesses connected to this particular group to gain even more market share. Amazon, how many small grocery stores are going to be going out of business? How many people, like even for me, I've never used Whole Foods before. Whole Foods delivery, I now use it when I can. It's very sporadic, but is that going to condition me to use Whole Foods instead of these other things? It will a lot of people. It will a lot of people. So a lot of business is going to be moved out of the once again out of the hands of the small folks and into the hands of the folks that are committed to the really the will of a small few number. And in the case of Trump, I think he might have a crew of, again, maybe 4 or 5 folks. 4 or 5 folks. We're really talking about 5 people on 5 people that are waging a war with each other, and we're all living out their vehicles of power in an effort for one or the other to gain the upper hand. That's essentially what we're witnessing here. I think whether it's just 4 or 5, maybe it's more than 4 or 5. It wouldn't be more than 50, and it won't be probably less than 4 or 5. Your own digital bug army could deliver the goods with military precision. Biohybrid robots are the wave of the future. The next big, holy heck, we're going to live forever breakthrough that has been in the works for a few years now. These robot bio thingies are equipped to do whatever we need them to do to get to those hard to reach, hard to see places that currently evade the penetration of therapeutic drugs and whatnots to clean the crap up inside us. Soon, we will get an injection of robots that will have the injection of drugs we need delivered precisely, strategically, right in the face of the offending part that needs the drugs to stop hurting us. Come on. That deserves an applause. I want these guys. Now, I'll tell you, there are 2 scenarios and there are gradations in between, but the 2 extreme scenarios. The one scenario is that these again, the IPs are controlled by a handful of people, just a tiny, tiny number of folks that control all of the IPs, all of the right for you to use this technology, to even know what this technology is. So they have the systems. Also, the only systems that can be built are their systems, and so you can only go to their places, and the data is shared by them in big, massive databases that are surely never going to be exploited in any way, shape, or form. Or you could have everyone with their own personal AIs that have been, even you can have a way that they can actually create their own AIs. It could be a thing as a kid grows up, like first thing, this is how the singularity is going to occur. It's going to be, like I said, it's going to be on your wrist. It's going to be on your wrist. That's going to be your AI, and your AI can talk with other AIs. You can have your AIs work with others. So whenever you get together with other people, it's like suddenly you have all of the power that the greatest minds have today in the world. That just a few common schlomos get together. They're like, hey guys, we got this thing we're gonna figure out. Hey, let's get our AIs talking to each other. Next thing you know, the yokels have built themselves a spaceship and landed in Mars in only 3 days. That's what I'm talking about. So that's the singularity. If the singularity is customized, created by individuals, no IPs to hoard them and hoard them, then that's wonderful. That's wonderful, because then you can create your bugs, your little buddies. You can control them. So you know what's going into you, and your data is only you need to know it. Only you and your AI need to know it, and your AI can talk to other AIs that can. You don't need doctors anymore. You need doctors. You don't need doctors anymore. You just have your AI buddy. AI buddy will take care of you, and your AI buddy, if he's lost, she's lost, whatever. Whatever, if you want to give your AI a gender or personality, or if you want, however you want to do it, it'll be up to you. It won't be in some sort of narrowly specified, unique parameter way controlled by a select few that limit the development and diverse expression of that technology. That's the key. So if it's just them, this is scary. So like the overall theme of this show is it really is, because it always comes down to this, because we talk about so many things that fit this. It's not the tool, it's the user. I mean, yeah, it's not the tool, it's the user. So this tool, if it's a tool that's used by individuals in self-stewarding ways, then it's wonderful. It's a powerful tool that it's like guns are. Guns are a defense multiplier that levels the playing field for people who are physically inferior. It's a great democratization of violence. That's what guns are. And AI on everybody's wrist is now guns in the hands of only a select few, like the government, in the hands of centralized authority. Then that's a tool in which the user has an incentive to assure that my life continues to be in service to theirs. Whereas if everybody has guns, then there's a lot more democratization of violence that occurs. So when governments wish to pass laws, they're highly incentivized to assure that they don't pass laws that'll get them shot. If they pass laws that are just, that the overwhelming majority of people agree with, they don't have to worry about getting shot, because if anyone tries to shoot them, the vast majority of Americans will protect them. And it's the same thing with AI. If it's only in the hands of if it's a large, by the way, corporations and governments are one and the same. You just have to stop thinking of corporation as being anything but the government. It is an extension of government. It doesn't exist without government, and the government in large part doesn't exist without it. It's a very usufructory relationship. One and the other need each other, and that's why you shouldn't separate them, and that's why corporations, and I'll have to figure out how to define technically not all businesses are corporations, but the corporations definitely immediately should be limited in their ability to violate the bills of rights of human beings. And these are the corporations that we don't want to have exclusive rights to AI that will help us design and send bugs into our bodies to treat things that are going to kill us. We want our own bugs made by us. That's the general idea. So here's an excerpt. Tiny hybrid robots on the micrometer scale can swim through the body and deliver drugs to tumors or provide other cargo-carrying functions. The natural environmental sensing tendencies of bacteria means they can navigate towards certain chemicals or be remotely controlled using magnetic or sound signals. To be successful, these tiny biological robots must consist of materials that can pass clearance through the body's immune response. They also have to be able to swim quickly through vicious environments and penetrate tissue cells to deliver cargo. In a paper published this week in APL Bioengineering from AIP Publishing, researchers fabricated biohybrid bacteria microswimmers by combining a genetically engineered E. coli MG1655 substrain and nanourethrosomes, small structures made from red blood cells. This work is an important stepping stone in our overarching goal of developing and deploying biohybrid microbots for therapeutic cargo delivery, Arthur Merton City said. If you decrease the size of red blood cells to nanoscale and functionalize the body of the bacteria, you could obtain additional superior properties that will be crucial in the translation of the medical microbiotics in clinics. So this is, again, all exciting, wonderful news. I welcome it. I love it. I'm very happy about it. The only thing that troubles me is the exclusivity of the IPs. If we're locking this stuff down and we're putting it in the hands of the few, then this is something I would never, if this was Megacorp that says put this in your body at this stage, with what I've seen, how I've seen corporations behave themselves in times of need, and even leading up to this, how these corporations have behaved, how willing they have been to use their resources to enforce their particular moralities on the rest of their customers. It's vicious, it's horrible, and I would never trust them. As a matter of fact, these are companies, if you had red flag laws, you should call, because they should not own guns, let alone own this. This is weaponry. This is hardcore weaponry. Now, I'm not for gun laws, so I'm not for restricting this either. But I would definitely say, if you're going to live by the red flag law, you should probably die by it. And so in their case, they support things like that regularly. They support things that control in general. It's very, very advantageous vehicles of power for these systems to adapt this type of overall militant, authoritarian SJWism, even militant or authoritarian progressivism, because not all progressives, by the way, are against gun ownership. There are many progressives, even communists. There are plenty of leftists. Unfortunately, they have a very small voice. There are plenty of leftists that are totally pro gun ownership and understand the significance. Whatever the founder, I don't even care what they intended. I don't care. We all understand we're not going to live in a world in which we're disarmed. Especially in looking at how you people have behaved yourselves, how shameful all of you have been, you government people have been during these times of need. You have done nothing but protect your own interests again and again and again, and use this as opportunities to try to again force your particular social engineering, social moralistic human engineering on the rest of Americans without their consent, to just violently push whatever you can during a time when all of us are so helpless. There's no way that I would ever favor, even our own government should be red flag lawed at this point. The government should not own guns. They've clearly demonstrated that they have no competency whatsoever to deal with life and death decisions in general. So they should not own guns. They should not. So they shouldn't even be able to have this. This should only be in the hands of individuals in small consensual associations. Matter of fact, in general, I think I'm being ridiculous. I'm just using their own logic against them. I don't support red flag laws at all, and I wouldn't be in support of enforcing them against anyone, even corporations. I'm just doing a little mental exercise, walking this out. But fundamentally, no corporations giving me these bugs. If I can design them myself with the help of my AI friend or friends, whatever the case might be, then fine. But it's got to be me. I got to control something like that going in my body. And if I could control something like that, imagine what I could do with the help of my AI friend to re-engineer myself. I'm all for it. I'm totally down with it. I embrace that. As long as I can do it. I could set the terms. Or at least I'm willing to risk I'm willing to risk a certain amount. So I mean I can never be rock solid sure that I'm ever really there's all kinds of ways I could be deceived. But still, if I can create the AI that ends up creating the bots or help me create the bots, I would do that. If you could probably figure out a way to get me to create the AI that has your code in it, but at least I have a fighting chance. I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to take the risk. All right, with that, we're going to go on our break, and we'll get set for the news poem on the other side. And if you're watching the YouTube channel, then that means that this is the 6 p.m. show. And now we're getting set to watch the news poem at 7 p.m. So we'll see you at 7 p.m. on the Action Batsa YouTube channel. For the rest of you, well, we'll get ready for, we're going to go right to the break here. Give me a time to rest my throat and maybe alleviate the body of its unnecessary dertitis, as I am wont to say at times such as these, and then return with a smile and a grin as I realize that a smile and a grin is the same thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go to break because I've already said too much. I've already said too much. Just go. Wait, I'm not ready yet.
Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me. Love overwhelmed me.
Oh, I am back. I have reconfigured the mind in a way that is more congruous to the task at hand in manners which I care not to elaborate because they're a trade secret. So, with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, let's get back to the task at hand. And the task at hand is going to be we're gonna get ready to do our news poem here, and I think I've got different music for the news poem today. And by the way, I am going to be doing at the end of the week, Saturday, 12:30 p.m., right here on dlive.tv/Freako. And I know I'm live streaming on YouTube and Facebook, but I'm focusing on DLive here. Right here on dlive.tv/Freako. And if you're not there, be sure you go there and get an account and follow me, because I need more followers to fill my vanity. I need vanity. Pull up thy vanity. Ezra Pound said pull down thy vanity. I said pull up. So there you go, Ezra Pound. He was a racist anyway, so screw you, buddy. Great poet, but a racist. Clear, actual racist. Actual racist. Okay, so dlive.tv/Freako is where we will be live streaming our news poem. And our news poems, well, I redo the news poems from the week because I don't do them with as much, and I won't do them with as much flash and I have a lot more fun with them in the Saturday show. I pick different music and I do different stuff with it. So be sure to check that out. Freako Talks the Poems. I think that's what I'm going to be calling. Freako Talks the Poems. I think that's what it's going to be. I think that's probably the best. I've been showing. I think that's it. I think I just came on. Now I got to create the right graphic for it. But Freako Talks the Poems. So Freako Talks the News Monday through Friday, 12:30 p.m. Freako Talks the Poems Saturday, 12:30 p.m. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we're about ready to actually begin the show. And for those of you in the know, we begin the show by preparing the show for some individuals who may need some preparation and context for the show.
Warning, the material you're about to be exposed to is formed the minds of individuals who are limited in their capacity to understand the actual reality of power around them, just as you and everyone else alive currently are. What you're about to hear are opinions, suppositions, like gospel or scientific truths, not infallible certainties. Brace yourself for incoming opinions that could confirm or deny your preferential view of the reality of power. Brace yourself for fallible material, fallible opinions, and values reflected, but nonetheless variably firmly held. We do not apologize to anyone we offend. We do not apologize for daring to express our views and impressions of what we believe is and what we hope to see. We will keep talking so long as we are able.
And now, Freako attempts to talk about the news without freaking out.
That's the plan, ladies and gentlemen. That's the plan. That's what we're going to go with. We're trying to not freak out about the news. That's what we're doing. You guys want to hear the news poem? Because we're going to get right to it. We're going to get right to the news poem. We're not going to monkey around. No monkeying around. We're getting right to it here. Let's get you lined up right there. You go. There's the visual. There we go. There we go. Well, we'll get this recorded now. All right. This is the news poem for Freako Talks the News on Monday, April 13th, 2020. The title of this news poem is In the Lava Deep, There Stirs. The tired saying goes, life will find a way. Life being a billion rebel one-celled universes persisting in the basaltic lava that lies under the deepest of the deepest oceans. And this news has those creatures that live near the carbon dioxide vents at the bottom of that seafloor looking like entitled, spoiled brats in comparison. Life does find a way, though, until it doesn't. News first, poem follows. From Universe Today. Seriously, life really does get around. It was found in rocks deep beneath the seafloor. Come on. Come on. I don't want to say anything. I don't know Universe Today so much yet. I've found myself picking a couple of their stories lately, so I don't know much about them. But come on, titler. No. Excerpt. The team of researchers presented their results in a new paper titled Deep microbial proliferation at the basalt interface in 33.5 to 104 million year old oceanic crust. Lead author of the paper is Yohei Suzuki, associate professor at the University of Tokyo. The paper is published in the journal Natural Communications Biology. The scientists found the single-celled creatures in basaltic lava deep beneath the sea floor. It took them over a decade to come up with a way to find these creatures in drill samples. They estimate that the rock cracks contain a density of 10 billion bacterial cells per cubic centimeter, which is about as dense as the human gut. Is dense? I like that. I like that it's basically belly-sized gut. Boom. Punch to the gut. I am the gut. For contrast, there are only about 100 cells per cubic centimeter in the mud on the seafloor. So, they love it. They love it. They love it. Lava. Oh, yummy. Yummy. The bacteria appear to be thriving in the clay that fills the tiny cracks. According to lead author Suzuki, anywhere you find clay, you find life. That is that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we got to the news. I told you after the news, poem follows. So here we go. I'm a man of my word. I Frico. I'm a man of my word. In the lava deep there stirs. In the lava deep there stirs a single specked universality in scale to micro, technical, protraction of the data, a single cell merged into the flow below the cool, the flame, the unforgiving exchange of the instants of entropic force on all known biologies. Yet life. And in the lava deep, in the deep, there stirs. The lone dot is nestled in the clay, but not. A gut of cells confers and forms the collective all. Miasma in the lava, miasma in the stall. The universal fractals dissect the particular elements of lava so that they are separated from their intent and become musical forms, or would if the world paused in all of such news. But fear not. The element of the wonder is lost in the flames above the lava. The voice drowns out its own panic. Voice in Coronaville above the flow. Above the panic, the lava, more miasma in the flow. I hold no promise to the answer, but the flames burn away more than the brush they are intended to sweep away. The flow, the lava, the overtaking of the inertia to a sudden crawl, yet a cluster of collective awe in the crucible persists. We know, even amidst fierce flames, the single-celled rebel lives among the rebel kind, in the crucible, thriving. I'm not waving goodbye to you, audience, my live audience, the people who really matter, not these Johnny-come-latelys that are watching these videos on YouTube on the Action Broadcast channel, although you should do both. You should watch the live stream, and then, as the excerpts are posted between 4 p.m. and 9 p.m., you should watch those too. You should do your part, for the good of humanity. It's kind of what we do around here. All right. So that was, I'm not going to say much more here because I've taken way too long in the beginning. That's why I'm kind of pushing these little things. Usually I might talk a little bit more between them. By the way, I don't know if you noticed my little beardies, but let's see if I can get this away here. Yeah, I put my little twisty in, and then sometimes I like wearing the twisty actually during the shows for the most part. But today I thought I'd leave the twisties out. But if I don't have the twisties in, my beardy looks terrible. It's horrible and thin. But the twisties kind of compresses it into a space in which it's got something to it. So I do it that way. It's what I do. It's what Frico does. It's just part of the job that I've taken upon myself to fulfill in others. So we're transitioning over here to Talk Briefs. So this is our first. Well, let's get ready here. Hold on. I almost. You know what I realized? I don't know what I'm going to do about that news poem. I like to do that little promo thing at the end of each segment. So if somebody's watching the YouTube video, they happen to see it, it gets them wanting to see the next. I'm doing my part. But I can't do that on a news poem because I like ending it just with that stupid, over-the-top, ostentatious clap. It's just wonderful. I have to end it that way. So, well, I guess I'll have to live with that. I can't really promote. All right. I'm thinking out loud, ladies. And I'm sharing this backside with you guys. Oh, so to speak, metaphorically. Definitely metaphorically, not literally. But this backside, so to speak, of the process of watching. Because right now, Frico Talks the News is on its way to becoming the greatest podcast of all time. But in order to get there, it has to suck and struggle so that it has that arch, that character arch that so many people that write movies and shows today don't understand. The reward that human beings get from watching someone struggle and then become the greatest human being of all time. That's what you're going to witness here. And if you're here early and you're witness, you get to be a part of watching Frico become the legend that he's about ready to become. And this is part of the process. You get to hear, those origin stories. You actually heard me relay them years later when all of these things about me are so famous. And they're like, oh, I remember. And it won't be because some idiot that later betrayed me gave me dice. It won't be that. It won't be that. I'm just saying. And you guys that know. And if you don't know, just trust me. It won't be that dumb. All right. Let's get ready to record this. Oh, let me take hold on. Sip of water. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. You know what I'll do before I take the sip of water? Because I love you. I'm going to start the music. That way I can turn off the mic and you don't get to hear me sip. And I know you don't want to. All right, this is Talk Briefs for Frico Talks the News on Monday, April 13th, 2020. Our featured brief here is going to be Coronaville Cure, a new contender in N-Hydroxycytidine. Excerpt. A group from UNC Chapel Hill, Vanderbilt, Emory, and the CDC Division of Viral Diseases published a paper in the journal Science Translational Medicine that reports the antiviral properties of NHS against a number of coronavilles. The drug appears to be capable of handling all of them. Properties of NHC. 1. Antiviral activity. NHS inhibits the replication of MERS, the original SARS, and Coronaville, in cultured cells. The drug inhibits half of the viral replication at low concentrations. The lower the concentration, the more potent the drug is. So then they have, I just wanted you're going to have to click on the link and go and click on the article then in the thing to get because they have, it's 4 or 5 other points here. But it's just a quick little, there you go, folks. More stuff, and there's more and more of this stuff. This isn't the only contender. There's many, and I'm really fully confident. At least I'm much more confident in the people that actually do the practical application of life behind closed doors than I am in the people, the glitz and glams that are speaking to us and unfortunately the ones making a lot of these decisions still. I'm much more confident in the folks that are doing the practicals. And I don't mean like Dr. Fauci, that guy. No, not him. No, he's one of the bureaucrats. He's not one of the doers. He left being a doer a long time ago. So properties of NHC. That's awesome. Got a lot of reason to hope there's going to be a lot of effective therapies coming down the pike. Kentucky governor, anyone at Easter mass gatherings required to quarantine for 14 days. Are you crazy? To further protect state residents, Bashir said any person who is caught participating in a mass gathering during the weekend will be ordered to quarantine for 14 days by their local health department. Here's why this is so stupid. You create this immediate militant tension between you and the community, like right away. Not only that, but you're going to execute an order that the people that would be the least likely to want to or be able to quarantine could very well come into some violent confrontations with you. And you don't have the resources to deal with it. If you really are going to go around and you're going to have all your cops and everybody else going around while so many other I don't know if you've done this yet, but maybe you have. I'd like to know if you have. Going around and deciding we're not going to enforce certain types of crimes unless, like, if somebody robs you, you're not going to be investigating that. But you're going to put resources, and many other, like New York State, certainly, they're putting resources and clamping down on people violating these illegal laws. But they're also not protecting people against people actually doing direct harm to them. Whatever you think about, I mean, I agree, though, if you've had a mass gathering, you should probably self-quarantine for 14 days. But this isn't, you can't write laws that you can't enforce. You're going to create upheaval and chaos. It will end up doing more harm than what it is that you're trying to prevent. The overwhelming majority, if you get the overwhelming majority of these folks quarantining for 14 days voluntarily, and I am sure they will, I certainly would, and most of us would, that's going to be more than enough to slow this thing down, to not cause these hysterical, catastrophic numbers that you folks were initially giving us. We were getting talks in the beginning of 2 million people might die. That's what we were hearing in the very, very beginning. Numbers like that. Well, you know, if we don't know anything but, you know, these models, you know, 2 million people, we don't know. There could be 2 million people. If you had some of these scenarios that people predicted came true, it'd be 2 million people dead. Those are the kind of numbers that we're given. And for that, I understand a lot of dramatic moves being made. But I think that at some point, I think in the beginning, they believed that this could be really bad. But when they realized that it wasn't going to be nearly as bad as they thought, that what we'll remember is they kept their foot on our necks. And they tried to take, and maybe they will, and they've already have in many instances, they took such naked, aggressive advantage of our weaknesses. The haves took so much advantage over the have-nots during this whole affair, overwhelmingly. And it's going to be a bad memory. And this Kentucky governor, shame on you. We're going to remember you for this. This is violence that you're calling upon the land at a time when they're already unsecure, and creating more Salem witch trial type mentalities, turn the Jews in type mentalities. This is what you're creating, a fascist mindsets across the board. That's what we're going to remember. You all showed what all of you showed is the Republicans and Democrats alike. You're fundamentally led by people who had heart, at least as far as the authoritarian element of what we think of as fascism. At least in terms of that part, you're all fascist. Fundamentally fascist. You only see hammers and nails. You guys are always the hammers, and we are always the nails. 2 novel methods of searching for dark matter by measuring tiny No, I'm not going to read that story. You don't want to read the headline. 2 novel methods of searching for dark matter by measuring tiny perturbations in fundamental constants. The Fed's emergence as a power player poses new risks to independence. I'm going to read this expert for you. Hold on. Let me take a little water break here. My throat is stripped bare by acid right now from the acid refluxes, so it's a tough day to talk, but I'm getting through it, folks. I'm getting through it, folks. I just have to take a lot of water breaks to get through it. Here's an excerpt from Morning Star. The Fed's crisis response has 3 phases. The first was the traditional monetary policy response. It lowered interest rates to near zero on March 15th to absorb the blow to domestic demand. That effectively exhausted its conventional ammunition. The second phase was to purchase vast quantities of Treasury and mortgage-backed bonds, lend heavily to banks and bond dealers, and offer credit to hundreds of foreign central banks to meet dollar shortage abroad. This was to prevent the financial system from seizing up parts of its established role as lender of last resort to the banking system, albeit on an unprecedented scale. The third phase was to use its emergency authority under Section 13-3, or parentheses 3, parentheses, of the Federal Reserve Act to set up programs to lend to money market funds, issuers of corporate debt, municipal governments, and Main Street businesses, big and small. This goes well beyond the central bank's traditional duties. It is akin to fiscal policy, territory long off limits to central bankers because it risks taxpayer funds and requires politically fraught decisions about who gets help and who doesn't. Now that just scratches the surface, but it's just a little bit of a boost of the heck is going on here. That is just this is, by the way, the Fed is just whatever you want to think about these. You need to. They're not institutions. They are driven by the individuals empowered to drive them. And some instances, those individuals have some degree of self-direction, and many instances, the individuals themselves are not the ones. It's the ones that call them up. It's those 4 or 5 people in whatever camp. And now, in the case of the Fed, I think they're probably getting calls from all the camps, and there's some degree of influence that all the camps still have. That I don't think there's a consolidation of influence in the Fed. It's my assumption based on their actions, nothing else. But such as that is, this is, everyone loves this. There's no one that's going to be complaining about this. Not the camp that Trump rides with, not the camp that Pelosi rides with and Clinton rides with. No, those camps are not going to be complaining. One of the other things that's happening here is the Fed is now, thankfully, one of the things the Democrats wanted to do was they wanted to basically put in morality police, essentially, into each bank or into each business that got any kind of federal assistance. That part of the condition of the federal assistance would be that your business had to install these morality police, these people that would be assured to have their particular ideational constructs, this authoritarian version of SJWism, that they would be the governor that would assure that those values were being enforced in your business. Like that's a role for the federal government now. Now they do it in the guise of they use equality, justice, all the things that actual SJWs would use, but they wouldn't be using these authoritarian methods to anyway, that's what we're looking at here. We're looking at the Fed expanding its powers into, because it's not just what now the Fed isn't getting the morality cop in every home. And the only reason it's not is because there's too much conflict between the two. If there was more alignment amongst the probably 10 to 15 families that really control the American narrative, then this would have happened. But the other groups, their vehicles of power as far as the way that they use morality are very different than the SJWs, than the SJW authoritarian version is. So they have no interest in the SJW authoritarian model, but they're not offering a model that's any better than the SJW authoritarian model. They essentially, in one way, shape, or form, essentially it really is the America First thing. It's the idea of revising American patriotism and continuing to use American patriotism as the most effective vehicle of power, which is every bit as when it has the type of power that the SJW authoritarians have, it's every bit as authoritarian fascist as this SJW authoritarian is. There's no winner for the consensually minded in that affair. The best that you could hope for is they continue to struggle, and in that struggle they continue to allow us the breath to continue to build alternatives to the madness around us. That's the best that we can hope for. And I think I will read this last one. This is the last one I'm going to read here. Yeah, I don't really need to. I'll just give you this headline, though. Saudi, Russia agree. Record oil cut under U.S. pressure as demand crashes. This is from Straits Times. So expect our gas to start to go up again soon, which might be good. Really, it might be. Facebook is providing $100 million in grants for small businesses throughout the world. From the Shade Room. Another one from the Shade Room. Again, I like this site. As the spread of COVID-19 continues to impact many businesses throughout the world, Facebook is stepping up and doing their part to help out small businesses with a $100 million grant. From the $100 million grant, $40 million will be used to support 10,000 small businesses in 34 different locations across the U.S. where Facebook employees live and work. Half of that $40 million, $20 million, will go to minority, women, and veteran-owned businesses. Okay, so here you have it. Facebook now, it has this power. Money is power, is the ability, especially the way that Facebook is able to use this in the confines of the law and regulations that it can actually do this. It has now the capacity to use $100 million, to influence the lives of 10,000 small business owners. And what are the terms? I mean, Facebook have terms of service that don't align with maybe half the country. So would it transfer those values when it decides? I mean, it's not going to award this money to the businesses that aren't aligned with its political, moral constructs, and Facebook is most assuredly in the SJW authoritarian, that they're part of that whole group. So that's what you get when you have, and this is to the conservatives, this is your fault. Ultimately, the reason that the SJW authoritarians have the power that they have is because of you. Because of you idiots who you've always been, it's the free market, it's okay, it's a free market. As you've watched Twitter and YouTube and Facebook and Amazon and in our media outlets, if you watched all of them use their tremendous monopolistic advantage to literally describe half the country as murderers and killers. That's essentially what they're saying about them. And they call them worse than that. Whole groups of people that are called horrible things by these powerful groups. These powerful groups that use this twisted version of SJW to make life or death decisions about individuals' abilities to make a living in this new world. It's because of your dogged belief in this so-called free market Republicans that they have this power. They used your own free market against you, which was never free. Never free. Capitalism. They used capitalism to out-fascist the fascist. And they claim to be fighting fascists in the process, so they got that extra. They got some allies to work with them, some dupes, the Antifa, total dupes. I mean, I support a lot of their assumptions. I support punching Nazis, definitely. I don't believe that Antifa understood ever how it was being used by groups of people that have no interest in ever bringing to life anything that any of them imagine. And I don't think that they have any power to overcome the power that these individuals have over their lives. And they fail to understand the reality of power as most of us do. Just don't fundamentally understand the reality of power at play when you continue to allow for the concentration of such reserves of power by entities that have no fundamental check on how they use their power, how they use this influence. They are a government entity. They are one and the same at this point. And therefore, if they're going to have this power, they have to be Bill of Rights bound. So Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all of these things, they're going to have to be undone and stripped of so many of their morality policing. It's all going to have to go, and you're going to have to allow for the wild, dangerous flow of free thought, even ugly free thought. You're just going to have to allow it, or you're going to have to stop doing business in America. If we make these changes in our lives, if we all fundamentally agree to live by these Bill of Rights standards and demand that businesses do the same, we could find a space where we could figure out those complex issues like abortion and taxes and single payer, free market, whatever. How are we going to do our health care? How are we going to educate our kids? There's a lot of room to have those. You can decide things through your votes and all that, and all in ways in which none of us feel so fundamentally existentially threatened by the other. That's what the Bill of Rights can do. That's why I'm harping on it over and over again. That's what the Bill of Rights can do. It can give us all a space where we can feel not existentially threatened by the other, so that we can entertain ideas that we think are insane, because we know this person has no capacity in this land to violate our Bill of Rights. And if they can't violate our Bills of Rights, then all they have is a stupid opinion. And that's fine. We don't really care about stupid opinions that have no power behind them. And with that note, this is coming up to the last segment of the show. If you're watching on YouTube, this is the 8 p.m. show, which followed the 7 p.m. show, the news poem. And our last show is at 9 p.m. That's the Dialectical, and our Dialectical is Patent Pirates Colonize the Mind in the War for AI IP. Hold on here. I like to turn off the music before I leave the house. There you go. I don't want to, when I leave these rooms, I don't want to leave the music running. I run up the energy bill. It's just being funny. It's so that when I come back to them, the music doesn't play, because I like to start off without the music. See, that's all. And then sometimes, now these are not, by the way, I talked earlier in the stream about OBS, and these types of settings generally don't change. What changes is a lot of, like, if you have different, well, certainly the camera, I've had all kinds of issues trying to figure out, why does the camera change? I can't quite figure that one out yet. I'll zero in, I'll figure it out. I'm sure I'll feel like an idiot when I do, but until then, that changes. I don't know what's going on there. The audio, I have had issues with the audio, but I've kind of figured out. It took me a while even for that to figure out where the regular glitches are. Now that I know where they are, I have a processor go through, and they usually don't so magically reconnect. But not everything. A lot of other things will be where you put them. It's not changing a lot of things. It's just certain things, video, audio, and if you're ever using window image, and you're looking at browsers, you can change. Things can happen, but I finally figured out there what was going on too. But again, it took a while, but eventually I'll figure out what this camera thing is going. At any rate, let's get ready for the last segment of the show here. I'll take another glass of water. That time I left you in silence. I was like, no, I ain't starting the music this time. Nope, because I had never played this. I think this is different music that I've used in the show. I don't think this is my music. Let me just see real quick. No, this is not my music. That's right. Yeah. This is not my music. So this is one of these copyright music things. And every once in a while, though, like one of the songs that I used from the last show got a not a copyright strike thing, just This video is not monetized, which is fine. I don't really. I'm not counting on YouTube to make me money. The only thing I'm counting on is people going to frico.com/tips and sending me money through PayPal. That's it. That's all I'm going to be. That's my monetization model. That's it. You go to PayPal. That's it. That's all I got to offer. Sorry. I'm keeping it simple for now. Maybe eventually I'll have more stuff, but that's all I'm doing now. So, but still, so if it's not monetized, I don't really care. But still, I have replaced that one. And I did a couple other things then. And I'll do that. I'll keep mixing up the music. But hopefully this one is actually copyright free and I don't get another monetization. It's no big deal if I do, but I prefer not to. Because if it does ever make money off YouTube, I'll just consider that bonus. I don't want to cut off. See, I'm not counting on something, but I'm not necessarily trying to cut off things. Although I think the things that I say on YouTube, I don't think any of these videos will ever be monetized, really. So it might be a moot point anyway. I talk about all the things that you're not supposed to talk about. Pretty much. It's like the opposite of how to make it on YouTube. Pretty much watch Frico. It's pretty much what not to do if you want to make it on YouTube. If you want to make the greatest show of all time, watch Frico. Now, it might not be there yet, but it will be. Give it maybe 2 months. 2 months of hard work and tweaking and diligencing. Yep, I'll get this thing down and it'll be the greatest show of all time. And you guys will say that you were there when. And on that note, let's do our last segment here. Let's get this lined up right there. We go. There you go. There's the visual. All right. One more. One more for the road. Please be seated. Your waitress will be with you with your order of peanuts. The flight will be landing somewhere between 3 o'clock and 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Here's our Frico Dialectical for Frico Talks the News on Monday, April 13th, 2020. Patent pirates colonize the mind in the war for AI IP. Patent intelligence is critical at a time when there is an accelerating shift from conventional technologies to connectivity, autonomy, shared services, and electrification. That opening quote came from an article in the India Times called "Connected Tech Becomes Hotbed for Patent Wars in Automotive Industry." That quote draws home points I've been making in past articles and Frico talk shows about the real front line in the war between the Citadelians and the Poors. Intellectual property. Even as we speak, businesses are going under, tech startups, and powerful megacorps with various nation-states, and in some instances, especially for the American companies, no nation-state allegiance whatsoever, are buying up their patents. And I should say no nation-state allegiance whatsoever, but they do have plenty of factional support within the nation-state. They control significant, it's mutual. They control them, It's a back and forth, but they all have their particular factional alignments with various elements of what we call government, which are just collections of individuals in positions of power that find themselves aligned with this particular family of corporations or this particular family of corporations, and mostly because they come from the same families that the corporation families come from. It's all one big incestuous family with every once in a while a new family has risen up every once in a while. I think the Obamas are new people. The Clintons, they're really the Rodhams. That's really what they is. Bill Clinton is not the star. It's really Hillary. It's the Rodhams. They're the Rodhams. They're really not the Clintons. So they've been there for a while. They're part of the fold already. So, continuing with this. So, they can buy 100 IPs, and the one that works will bring profits in perpetuity 1 millionfold beyond the total investment for purchasing the 99 that didn't lead to anything profitable. Just buy it. 50,000, 100,000, 2 million, throwing boom, 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 boom. One of them works. 15 billion in the first year. I mean, I'm being a bit over the top, but here's an excerpt from the article. The convergence of advanced connected technologies in automobiles has introduced a host of new players in the value chain. Patent intelligence is critical at a time when there is an accelerating shift from conventional technologies to connectivity, autonomy, shared services, and electrification. It is not only the OEMs and their suppliers who are investing billions in automotive R&D, but an entire network of technology companies and a vast swath of startups. Now, these startups and these are companies that are using AI, deep learning, with human analysts in combination, all of them working together as one big happy team to find the patents out there that they can buy and convert to something monetizable and own the mind. They're literally, this is what patenting is. It's literally going out and buying minds. That's literally, it should just be called mind property. That's all it is. And that's what they're doing. They're going out and they're harvesting minds, or if you want to think about it, what they're doing is they're colonizing minds, because they're pretending that they're still sharing the mind with the world, but they're not. They're sharing the mind with the world at a heavy cost, which is exclusivity. All right. So the convergence of, so connectivity and mobile are the fastest growing patented technologies for OEMs over the last year, more than 14% growth, and second fastest for suppliers. Now, I want to come back to the quote I started with. Patent intelligence is critical at a time when there is an accelerating shift from conventional technologies to connectivity, autonomy, shared services, and electrification. Patent intelligence, what exactly does that mean? I've already explained it a little bit, so maybe I jumped ahead of myself, but let's try and see how I work this out. Let me try to work it out for you. Culling the seas for potential new patents, for patent purchases, for patent litigation, armies of high-paid patent attorneys do what needs to be done to serve their high-paid clients. The same corporate state elites that choose to use their vast resources to enforce their particular morality codes upon all of American kind are colonizing minds every day in patent land. But wait, friends, the terms have changed. The tactics are being adjusted. The armies of high-priced attorneys are now being replaced by AI and deep thinking and all manner of latest and greatest intelligence augmentation. A new field is rising, the field of AI augmentation in the patent wars. But wait, there's more, kids. There's one of them M. Night Shyamalan twists. Well, a weak version, but still. The softwares, the codes, the magical inputs that began with human fingers. Yeah, that stuff is, get this, patentable. So the very software intended to help the patent pirates is now a new fertile plain for patent pirating. That movie Inception, just if you watch that, talks about the infinite regress. If you can imagine software being developed to specialize in tracking software, you can see how the eternal regress thing starts to happen. Internal, whatever that is. As layers of software codes are created on top of one another to fight the layers below, perpetuating the chasing after the final ownership of the entirety of the potential range of thoughts a human could possibly ever entertain. You'll get to the point where moving your hand in a certain way might be a violation of patent law if you display it in a public way. They have tried to patent dance moves, so they do that. That's not far from this being patentable. Then what will happen is all these patent companies, they'll get their AIs to produce all kinds of variations of expressions and race to try to be the first one to patent it. They're literally racing to own minds. That's what's going on. And it's so much easier for them right now. Like I said, they're picking off the corpses because so many people are desperate and dying. Come on. Even if they don't get the patent, they get the patent. Okay, we're not going to buy your patent, but we have an exclusive license to use it for the next 20 years. Here's your money. Use out. And they may still give you good, decent residuals, but it'll be a pittance compared to the cost that all of humanity paid, which is that we've limited the expression of that thought. And we've allowed it to be colonized and exploited by the few that have. We continue to perpetuate the colonization of the mind. That's the overall theme of this show, ladies and gentlemen, today. That's what it's all about. It's all about that. It's probably a theme we're going to revisit a lot, but I never know. I am a product of the stories that I find, and I have to say today I had not a lot of today was a heavier show than maybe some others will be, but and as it turns out though, the dialectical here is going to be pretty short compared to what some dialecticals are, but in general is a little bit heavier show than some other shows are going to be. I try to put in a lot of mix of stuff, but honestly there just wasn't a lot of good stuff out there today for me to choose from. So hopefully tomorrow's haul I get a lot more happier stuff intermixed in here, folks. I like starting off with a happy Monday, and I was like, no. But listen, there is hope. There is hope. And the hope is that these, like I said, there are individuals. There's he didn't make it into the show, but there's a story by Amir Taki. I forget what it was about, but he was making some commentary about the cryptocurrency and where he was at, and it's pretty significant because he's one of the biggest advocates of practical use of cryptocurrency, and he's worked with a lot of I'll say non-state movements throughout the world. He's also been, I think he's pretty sure he's been to Rojava for a while. He's been to Catalonia, did a lot of work in Catalonia. A lot of these types of non-state secession type move. Well, Rojava is not a secession movement. It's just kind of happened as this dead space that these initially there were mostly Kurds. Initially they were all Kurds. I think pretty quickly there's a lot more people than Kurds there. It's still mostly Kurds, but there's a lot of other groups there that are part of this Rojava experiment. But he's part of that. He's on the cutting edge, and I try to track him. He doesn't show up a lot. Nobody's talking about him a lot because I track him. He's one of the people that I find most interesting in the world. And he is one of these folks that is out there, one of the techno pirates, if you will, that's out there trying to free the tech, free the IPs, get the real stuff, get the real data into the hands of we the poors. Democratize tech, democratize force, democratize ideas. That's the idea. The idea is to create environments in which it's as difficult for people in the center of the universe to control the lives of the many, because the lives of the many are so firmly planted in realities that they themselves control. That's the idea. And the technology is significantly on our side. Patents are only as powerful as the force that enables them to be enforced. And I believe it's going to be increasingly difficult for them to use their force to enforce these patent laws that people will come to understand, I'm sure, just how much it's choking us from being able to fully become much more, well, if you really want to see equality, if you really want to see justice, if you really want to see a land in which the color of your skin and your gender, your sex, your orientation, all those things really doesn't matter. You live in a land in which there is plenty, but at the same hand, there is a balance of power throughout the land. Power, force power, market power, ideational power, demonstrable power, real power with individuals and consensual associations. You'll see a lot more consensuality in that land, and you will see what we are as far as the degree to which men are men and women are women, or theys are theys, or whatever all of that stuff actually is, as opposed to the ways that individual factions continue to wish things to be because that's their particular vehicles of power. We give humanity a chance to figure out what we are on our terms. We trust in humanity to figure out what we are, especially in contexts in which it's incredibly difficult for small numbers of humans to coercively manipulate vast majorities of humans. That's the whole idea. And on that note, I think I'll close out this dialectical. This is the last segment of the day for Frico Talks the News. Be sure to join us for the live stream tomorrow on dlive.tv/Frico. That's dlive.tv/Frico. If you don't have an account, get an account and follow me, Frico, on DLive to watch the daily live stream, which is... Well, the segments together will be about anywhere from 1/2 to 3/4 the time that the overall show takes. So if you want to watch the whole show, you be sure to check me out then. You can listen to it live while I record these segments for you here on YouTube. Until then, we'll see you tomorrow for the first show on YouTube, which will be the 4 o'clock Frico Talks the News headline show, which I don't know what the featured headline is yet because I haven't even picked the stories. I'll do that tonight. Alrighty, so there you go. There you go. We got through this. I got through this. This was I am very happy. You know, it's ironic. I think I ended up making a long show, and I was thinking I got to make a short show especially because of the throat issues. Maybe it's the allergy medicine that I took. So that might have made me a little bit more inner ponderous than usual, which I'm in general. So at any rate, there you have it. There's the show. I want to thank everybody who joined me. There's a lot of people that were there, a lot of comments that I just ignored. There was no comments. Nobody's watching. And anyway, I'm going to do the show tomorrow, same time, as I said in the part that I was recording, well, in the YouTube part. Same time tomorrow right here on DLive TV/Frico. If you're listening on YouTube or Facebook, be sure you go to dlive.tv because that's the one. There will be times when I am not live streaming on these, and I'm only streaming on DLive for various reasons. Because sometimes I have issues, and when I do, then I limit the places that I live stream to. Now, I live streamed to these 3 places, and I didn't have any issues, so that's a good sign. So I thank you, everyone who joined me. My name is Frico. That's my persona for today, and that's how I'm living my life as of this moment until I turn off the camera and I take this suit off, and then I become whatever I decide to be after that. Until then, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Y'all have a great day, and remember, seriously, the tech is on our side. Not just the tech, but a lot of ancient ways even favor us in combination with the tech, like Adobe brick housing. There's compost toileting. That's been around for a while. There's so many things out there. Gray water management systems. The ways that we can integrate with one another. And, you know what? I'm glad I remember because I wanted to mention this too before I leave. I am probably tomorrow going to do maybe a little segment at the end, which I will record for YouTube. I don't know if I might do it maybe every other show or maybe one show a week. I'm not sure which, but I'll have a segment where I will show one of my communities off. Well, not show off. I'm not really showing it off because it is what it is. But these communities that I can use as visuals to explain what I mean about restructuring the way we live so that we are kind of not forced, but we find ourselves finding the usefulness of consensuality in our relations when we have situations in which we actually really have to start once again relying on one another. But when we rely on other, even within this microcosm, the individuals have their own degree of self-stewardship powers as well. So even within those small communities, there's this distribution of balance of power that encourages consensual relations amongst one another. So that's how I think I'll start to add to the show, because I'm making the show that I want. If I was designing a show that I would want to be, get me, not that I could design the show, because I've tried to design the show and I've never been successful. So, but if I could, I wouldn't do it right now because I guess I'm just fed up. And I just want to do what I want to do. And that's it. And I believe that there are, if I ever find the people, that there are people out there. Maybe there's only 200 or 300 of you out there that would regularly like to listen to what I have to say, but I think they exist. I think these people exist that understand what I'm saying and can relate and can find some comfort in what I'm saying and some hope in what I'm showing. That and amidst all of my pessimism, I'm openly, extremely optimistic about the even the midterm future. The short-term future is pretty bleak. Midterm future, I think that the facts that we who wish for consensuality, the times are about to favor us tremendously. And there's a new renaissance that's about ready to happen across the world that is going to transform the world, at least for a season, at least maybe for the next 70 years, 50, 70 years maybe. We're going to have this peace that's going to come, that's going to be a period of time where we're going to have an opportunity to find out if we can truly be consensual. And we can truly find the space to allow for human beings to exist in ways that they can live out their own God seeds, their own heroic journeys without crushing the human lives around them to do it. That will, in the process of this necessity for consensuality, we will form new heroic journeys, socioculturally speaking, that'll be more aligned with a consensual lifestyle and not aligned with a thug lifestyle, which is what we have now with most of our supposed heroic journeys. We encourage the killers amongst us to take the reins, and maybe that'll change. That's my hope. I don't know. I could be a useless dreamer at this point in my life, however much of that I have left. Anyway, on that wonderful note, which is still optimistic note, most of us, whether it's me included or not, I don't know, but and I don't just mean because of Coronaville and other reasons, but most of us, and I think I'll be one of them. I really do, but most of us, we're going to have a period of time coming up here. No, maybe it's a year or 2, 3, 4 years, maybe 3 years away, where we're going to have our time to live the lives that we've always wanted to live, that we will have at our disposal the means to provide for ourselves and ours in ways that aren't raping others. The more that we can create and do right here in this land, the less we rely on raping human beings in foreign lands. So, yeah, this whole self-stewardship, consensual associative stewardship type living, that this is ultimately what will allow America to continue to exist. A self-stewardship bound by the Bill of Rights. And maybe eventually, after we've experienced it, we'll realize we never needed the Bill of Rights. We could just be bound by our preferences to live consensual lives. That's it. These are the standards that if we apply these standards and we uphold them, then these are the standards that will allow individuals to come as close as they can to living out the lives of their choosing without damaging the lives of others in the process. And we'll invent ways to imagine that we want this, that we're not submitting, that we're not giving up our pursuit of being the type of God seeds that we have now. Whatever God seeds, apex existential is another phrase I use for it. But all right, well, I added that little part there at the end just because of adding the village thing, and it got me into that. I'll leave it at that. I have to get back to work now. Although I am at work, but I have to get back to work.